Welcome to The East Angle, a podcast about the East, broadly defined, exploring international relations, politics, and history. When time allows, we will also delve into world events and our shared passion for football. I'm Ra Mason, and this is my co-host, Sherzod Muminov.
They are desperate to work, but the problem is we don't have the system to support them. Right. The journey is done by young people who are capable of taking the journey because it's a death journey.
War on terror.
War on terror. Basically, war on Islam.
Right.
Hello and welcome to the April episode of The East Angle, a very hot episode. We are probably having the hottest day of the year so far. And today we have one of UEA former students, and my colleague Ra Mason will introduce our guest.
I will. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome back Elham Metwly, who has been with us through 2 degrees and is now graduated and living a life in Norfolk. In fact, working for Norfolk County Council. So, Elham, huge welcome. And would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your journey from into UEA and then after UEA?
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me today. I would say a bit about my background.
Yeah, please do.
Oh, well, I was born in Cairo, and then I lived a little bit in Kuwait, and then before I met my husband in Kuwait, there in oil, we both worked in oil companies, and then we came back to the UK. I lived in Suffolk for a bit, and then I did the Access course there, and then I moved to. I applied for UEA. And
can I ask what Access course is? I mean, I don't know it myself, but also for the listeners' benefit.
It's where the course that you do before prepares you for a degree.
Okay.
If you have already done GCSEs,
something like foundation year
exactly.
that we have here at the UEA.
Yes, we have, I think, social care, and which takes you to arts degree and stuff, and the other one is health. Social care, which you can take science degree from there and do like nursing or. Okay.
So how come? But you came and did international relations at undergrad at UEA, right?
Politics.
Politics, yes. Right? And then international relations at MA.
Yes.
So why? Like, what was the Access course? What was the title of the Access course then?
It was social care.
Okay.
It's like I did English and history and psychology.
So
and
that kind of
it kind of give you 3 topics.
Right.
Just prepare you for the.
Yeah.
And give you some points, I guess, to get to the UCAS.
I think, yes, you studied politics and IR at university level, but social care actually is quite relevant to what you're doing now, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about your current work?
Well, I'm working as a person advisor in children's services.
At the Norfolk County
Council. The children in care, they have social worker until age 18, and then from age 18 they have personal advisor like myself, and we have a caseload of certain caseload number. Caseload
means the number of people you are assigned.
Yes. So
sorry if I'm being
we
like.
Do, that's fine. And we kind of the personal advisor kind of main job is to help young people to progress with their independency, building the independency. Right. That's so building the courses, education, help with everything, health needs, housing, immigration process.
Right.
Okay.
So we do everything.
So most of these are young people that have come from different countries and are kind of building their lives anew in the UK.
Yes.
And where would you say most of them come from, and what is driving them maybe to come to the UK?
Well, they flee their countries because of the fear of persecution. There is, conflicts in their countries. It's all different type. There are minority groups sometimes, like Kurdish community in the region. They can spread in Iran, Iraq, and Syria
in Turkey.
So it's that kind of also, we get big numbers. Afghanistan, Sudan, Eritrea.
So all those spots where there was a lot of
countries,
trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they kind of, and the journey is done by young people who are capable of taking the journey, because it's a death journey. It's like, and they get torture in Libya. There is, it's a very dangerous journey to take, and some they lose their life in the sea.
Right.
So it's not very easy journey to take, but it's kind of, you think not anyone can take the journey.
Sure.
You have to, your life has to be really gone so bad, and to flee to try and make better life for yourself and your family.
So when we talked briefly before the podcast started about this topic of asylum seekers, which is a very divisive topic in this country,
Yes.
but overall in Europe, I asked Elham, would it be possible to maybe touch on some of the myths and some of the truth of this case? And I think what you just said goes against some of this very widespread idea, especially among people who are against asylum seekers coming to this country. Some political voices mostly from one party, you know what party I'm talking about, but not just in this country. They say, you know what, if they're so desperate, why don't they stay in continental Europe? Why do they have to come to the UK? Because continental Europe is safe. It's, it provides all the social care that UK also provides. Is that close to truth, or is it just complete demagoguery and propaganda, what these people are saying?
Well, most of the talk is about, we all know immigration, historically, we know it's good for economy.
Yeah.
But the problem is, these young people, they come into the country, the average age is, let's say, 16. That's late in life. With no previous education. So they are desperate to work. But the problem is, we don't have the system to support them.
Right.
The ESOL course, for example, when we put them in education, it's not sufficient. There is no, not all college provides pre-entry level, for example, ESOL, which it starts from alphabet, for example.
Right, literally the very
I'm not
beginning.
expert in that, but it's kind of what I've experienced, what
Sure.
I've seen with the young people. I don't think the ESOL course, because there is massive funding problem.
Yeah.
And they don't keep them there enough to learn the language. As immigrant myself, everything was easy for me because I already had the language skill. But for these young people, it's very difficult. And most of the talks, as you said, it's about, we are put them in hotels, that's for adults. The under 18, under 18, they're looked after by the council.
Okay.
Take them on, so the Home Office fund their, personal allowances and their accommodation and all that. So it's all about, we don't have system. Even the benefit system is broken.
Right.
Okay.
So what should be done in response? I mean, is it the case that the money is not there, and so these young people are coming to the UK, and the UK is kind of doing the best it can to support them, but there's just not the money? Or is it the fact that political decisions are taken?
We need understanding of their situation. It's all kind of what's happening now. It's all judgment. It's all kind of attack.
Emotional.
What we need is some people understanding where the level of these. We need vocational courses. We need to teach them skill jobs. But to get to that, they need the language skills to get there, and we don't have that. We need the country needs to invest in proper English learning language courses, which now we don't have. It's huge lack, and the young people are frustrated because they stay in the same level because it's all done wrongly. It's all not doesn't really serve their level of where they are, and it's taught by someone is not equipped. As I'm not sure what's going on. They don't understand their accent, and because it's so high above their level. That's where the struggle comes, and why they stay longer, and that they don't progress in their.
I'll play the devil's advocate again,
Yes.
if I may.
Yeah, of course.
So again, going back to the critics of letting in asylum seekers, which, I mean, we all know that
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
UK
Yeah.
does this because it's in the international law, and it's not just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But some of these critics say, well, and I think the government is finally kind of, after many years, is changed tact finally. I think even the Labour government is following. We've been talking about this kind of tracking reform in this, which is very disappointing. But what these people are saying, well, they shouldn't come if they don't speak English. They shouldn't. I mean, they shouldn't be paid from the taxpayers' money. And it's easier to stop the boats, which was one of the slogans of one of the party's campaigns, than to create all the conditions that you were talking about that the country needs. The teachers, the support, and the funding. What is your opinion on this? Is it really the solution to stop the boats? Obviously, there are many other myths that we're not going to mention. The fact that like the number of asylum seekers is a very tiny percentage of all immigration in this country. So why has it suddenly become easy to completely dismiss everything and say, you know what, let's not do anything if they don't speak English, if they're not going to integrate that. I mean, this is not my argument, by the way. I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. How much truth is there and how much of it is myth? I'm just always curious because all I know about this issue is from the media. I try to avoid it as much as possible, but it just, these days, you can't avoid it.
Sure.
So, but you're working on the front line pretty much, as we can say that.
It's everyone's right to claim asylum.
Yeah.
The problem is they don't make it possible for them to take the safe route.
Okay. Which would be, the safe route would be?
Take a flight, take the, and it's not it's difficult. And they have an agreement with the country where they come. It's like they are not allowed to leave the country without a visa already.
For example, a European country or a Turkey?
No, from any country.
Any country.
Egypt, for example.
Yeah.
I can't board in a plane without visa
Yeah, of course.
to come to the UK.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm also an immigrant.
There is agreement between countries
Yeah.
to stop these immigration coming in. So it's there is no other way. So to say, oh, why would they take the boats? There is no other way.
Are they being misinformed, though? I mean, are they being misinformed by their own government? Are they being misinformed by kind of unscrupulous brokers or traffickers?
The human traffickers they give them which country is the best to do, and when you arrive, what to say, what to do, and all that. They charge them lots of money. These people pay, huge amount of money. They sell their land or house, whatever they have. The family will do just to save this one child,
right?
And to put them in that journey that they think, he might be safe.
Yeah, the logical thing, as you say, would be to kind of accept that this thing will probably continue to happen as it's happening, or as it's even expanding, as a lot of these areas that we talk about, or even not even war zones. For example, lately, a lot of people are using the Mexican border to get into the United States, and just to move away from Europe a little bit. A lot of people from Central Asia, where I come from, and I hear, this is just rumors, but a lot of people are actually taking the Mexican route. Some people are going with their families, paying tens of thousands of dollars to cross into the US. And what really surprises me, the governments of both the US and European countries, they are taking this populist stance that we are going to, starting with Trump, obviously, but also some even the European countries that are technically led by leftist parties that are not really kind of right-wing governments. even they are saying, we're going to stop these people from coming. As if, this just by not letting them in at the border solves the problem, right? Is like, rather than that, I mean, just creating some kind of opportunities for them to integrate. Would that be the better solution?
I guess with all governments, it's all about the votes, how they win majority of the votes of the people, and and we see it now with Labour. Again, I'm going back here.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think it's the similar thing. They want to make people happy and to
Gain
get
their
the
votes.
majority of the votes. And
They're worried.
We are
yeah.
controlling. We are controlling the situation. Not your jobs will be saved and all that stuff.
Yeah. So is there a solution then? Because this seems to be going on a long time. And obviously you and I have chatted about this now for like several years while you've been working in that role or similar roles. And I feel like we're not closer. People are doing amazing work on the ground, right? But we're not closer to a solution. Like, is there a solution? Do you see a positive way forward?
I guess we need to be more tolerant to others, really, and we help these young people to integrate, and so they can contribute to the economy, and because let's face it, we need them.
Ultimately, that's what they want too, I guess.
What we have, it's not an immigration problem. What we have is a broken system. The welfare is broken. It doesn't
Provide welfare.
It doesn't reward the people who's working. It makes it more rewarding for the ones, I better stay without work.
Incentivizes.
It doesn't make sense. It
Right.
doesn't make it rewarding if people going to get a job, because why would it doesn't make sense when it just left with £200. It's like something like that,
Right.
and everything is because everything is rising. There is problem with the rise of living, price of living, the rent is high, everything doesn't make sense. And the wage is still the same. So this is a system problem.
Yeah.
And we need to make it more incentive for these young people to come out
So-
and get a job.
So what you're saying is it's not just inadequate for the asylum seekers. It's inadequate for everyone.
Everybody,
Yeah?
absolutely, because
Okay.
the indigenous young people, because many of them, they copy the indigenous. They
Right.
copy what the people do. I'm gonna do this work, and I'm not gonna claim, report my income.
Right. Like cash in hand.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that. So it's kind of they because this is what's being proof
Right.
working.
Use the same loopholes.
It's
Yeah?
just,
Yeah.
who wants to live on £300.16, something
Or
like
whatever
that,
it is, right?
a month?
Yeah.
Is that what
It's
they are
not,
paid?
It's not a life. This is the universal credit kind of.
But is this just the allowance? Or
Allow
does this...
just that to live on.
Yeah,
To live on.
but that's still not much.
It's
Yeah.
not much.
Even for a young person,
Exactly.
316.
We could spend that in Tesco on one night.
Maybe not Tesco. You'll have to try very hard.
There are other supermarkets available.
Waitrose or others, yeah. So this is really interesting. Sorry, I mean, I kind of derailed the whole podcast. Some of the questions that we have, we will hopefully ask them too. But immigration is such a hot topic now.
Yeah. Yes.
But what you've already told us is so interesting. Just to add to Ra's question about the solution, and I promise this is my last question about immigration. You say that any country, especially a developed country, especially a country with an aging population, Japan being one of them, although we're not directly discussing Japan, we have discussed this topic many times on the pod, they need immigration. Whether you like it or not, whether
Absolutely.
you like the people, you like their
And
skin
we
color,
do.
their culture, their language, the fact that they may actually be slightly different from you, which I think is making a lot of people who vote reform uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what you want, what you think, you will still need these people. It doesn't matter where they come from, but this country, for example, needs immigrants. Japan needs immigrants. Korea needs immigrants.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, and we did speak about the governments, these governments are totally going on the populist bandwagon and saying, yeah, no, we're going to stop them from coming. How do you square that circle? You know, again, from your experience as someone who is dealing with this problem hands-on on a daily basis, do you see that people or governments will see reason and say, you know what, guys, this problem is not really just a problem for the country where these people are leaving from. These people will leave their country not just because of the war or something else. These people will leave their country because there is incentives for them to move to our country because our country needs their work, and we of course pay more. So when will these people who make the decisions, people who are not necessarily just kind of worried about votes, people who are more worried about running the country in a proper way, so everybody, not just immigrants,
The civil service,
everyone has a good social support. Do you think there's any hope of them figuring this out and kind of reflecting that in policy?
Particularly if, say, for example, we were to see the advent of a Reform UK government. I mean, what might happen to the situation on the ground in that case?
I think we must remain hopeful, especially now. Despite, I think we have to go. When we look at this, I go back to 2001, when the war against
War on terror.
war on terror, basically war on Islam,
Right.
and now we see the narrative that's been sold to people, to us, or to the whole world, that Muslims are bad, and this has been the last 20 years,
25,
and that allow many of the wars to take place, and that's what we go back to, where British and people in this country and Europe in the West, the whole West, you need to understand that whatever our government do outside in the world, it will echo back here.
Right, yeah.
These flood of immigrants, it didn't happen just. No one wants to leave their country. No one wants to leave their families, their loved ones, to come and be isolated, be mentally traumatized, and the massive trauma of they take in this journey, on top of everything that they have already in their country. What we need is some compassion. Just think about these lives. And we are not all innocent. We have a hand in this, the situation we have now. And the rise, and it goes back to that, the narrative that was sold to us. And soldiers, our children were killed going to these wars. The story was a lie.
Right.
To all of
and
them.
is it still being told?
And the civilization's been destroyed. Culture's been destroyed. Countries, families, homes. And what do we expect? Of course, it will echo here in our countries. Of course, it's.
Is it still echoing? Is that still what's going on today?
Absolutely, and it's still going. See we have the superpower, crazy man leading the world, and we are just following. It's basically Israel doing what they want to do. It's their goal to destroy the region, and. Imagine Iraq, civilization, Syria, all gone.
Right.
Yemen, all it's going. It's still going. It's Libya. So I guess just to think about the scale, the problem is when people are comfortable in their own bubble. We need to look outside and face what's happening outside, what will happen, what our governments did, what narrative was sold to us. And it makes sense what we have now. These young people and children who took the death journey to come here and make better life for themselves.
Sure.
That's logic.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise and come down, my life is gonna be threatened and all that. No, we are good. So we need to remain positive. And I think it goes back to where George Bush,
Yeah.
the first, and
Sure.
And the second.
Tony Blair, and what they sold us.
Right.
And we have to think of have compassion, and we are all one. We have to think of we are all related.
Humanity.
What happens there, and it affects our economy, affects us as a family, a people, and
Sure.
Unfortunately, compassion is in short supply.
Yeah,
Seems
for
to
sure.
be
we have to
in
hold
short
our
supply, yeah.
absolutely. We
Yeah.
have to hold our country accountable for actions they take, and the far right here, the increase of far right. Of course, they use this rhetoric against Muslims, against every No, they are coming to take this, and take our
Yeah,
jobs,
yeah.
take our money, and
So I mean, is there another? Again, I'm trying to be hopeful here. It's not a very hopeful picture, but I mean, is there a way out of this in terms of creating a new narrative?
we need politicians to stop using that to just please voters. We need politicians that look at the problem and find policies that help the problem. Fix the problem.
Okay, is there an economic aspect to this as well? Though? Because I mean, in some ways, I sympathise and I agree, generally speaking, but I'm somewhat cynical about the power of politics. It's difficult not to be as a guy involved.
Skeptical, probably.
Skeptical, shall we
is a
say,
good
right?
word, yeah.
Money talks. In fact, as they say, money doesn't talk; it swears. Right. So, what is it? Is there an economic incentive behind this kind of xenophobic, false narrative that is creating all these problems that you've outlined, or is it really just about
We
vote?
are ruled by businesses.
Right.
We are ruled.
So what's driving this?
This is the sad bit about, and and dangerous, because we are ruled by capitalism system. It's who rules the techno and all that companies, that what they want is basically they have no moral at all.
Sure.
The values.
Yeah.
Because we want your leader to represent your values as nation. We
Right.
don't have this anymore.
Right.
So we have country, the government that does what they want to do, and it doesn't reflect our values really. I can't stand and say, oh, what is my value? What is democracy? It's no longer exists. We have no say. We are ruled by businesses.
Exactly. Interestingly,
This is the sad bit here, and the scary bit, and we need to wake up and
absolutely.
do something about it.
Interestingly, you mentioned values. You will remember that in those days, especially H.W. Bush was his father. George W. Bush mentioned values a lot when he launched
When he
the war on
attacked the
terror. He
Muslims,
said,
yes.
our values have been
Yeah,
attacked.
yeah.
But now...
And in fact, his father, H.W. Bush, he actually said, we're talking about a situation of right and wrong, good and evil. Those were his famous...
Manichaean terms, which is what
And
politicians do. Yeah.
And they made good business with Saudis.
Right.
They have no problem shaking hands with the Saudis and make billions.
They've
both
been
of
allies
them.
for a long time.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I think, if we take a big structural or maybe historic look, if you will,
Unusual for you?
a little bit unusual, a little bit out of character, but I think overall, what you also mentioned about the welfare system, the benefit system, which is not necessarily only an immigration problem. I think a lot of this rhetoric, that is the reason why this divisive rhetoric, which populists and demagogues they use for their own interests, not necessarily only populists, even the government in power uses sometimes that kind of rhetoric, just kind of in tracking the populists and in making sure that their voters don't go to the populists. Yeah. But obviously, structurally and historically, under all of this, there are these big shifts in how the idea of, for example, public good is understood. Obviously, in this country, this goes back to Thatcher.
Well, look at the university.
The
Perfect
idea of
example
society,
that, right?
the idea of public good, the idea of tolerance, compassion, the idea that everybody in society, regardless of their, all their characteristics, protected characteristics in this country, they still have the same rights, but also same kind of input into the public good. You know, this kind of maybe I'm describing it in a very idealistic terms. That idea that there is public good and it's worth saving and it's worth securing has been eroded completely. It has been eroded partly by the politicians, but it has, as you say, been eroded by the big companies. And of course, the advent of social media made it even easier to divide people. And we talk about this quite a lot. You know, you mentioned these big corporations.
It's so commercialized.
Yeah, many of these corporations,
commercialized.
interestingly, in those days, it would be like big corporations that make stuff.
Yeah.
We used to
that's a
talk
huge
about, you know, the
difference.
Nestlés of the world. We used to talk about, I don't know, oil companies that actually make something.
Now they just
But
make money
now
for money.
we have companies that rule the world that don't really make anything. They just
Just
churn
handle
up
money.
this information. Exactly. Sorry. Yeah,
No,
I'm
it's
taking
exactly
too
right.
long.
Yeah.
But I just want to go back to that idea of public good, and because we are all public servants, even university teachers, we know how important it is. But that has eroded, right?
Absolutely. And we don't see it going back to the individual, what the people want, what's the good for the people. We don't see libraries being closed. Everything has been, the health service has been
NHS.
slowly getting more difficult. The first thing when they struggle, where they think, oh, where are we going to cut? They cut from something what's benefit the society. It's so dangerous. And we need to start, hold these politicians and government
to account.
accountable on that, because it's that society. It's gonna affect it so badly, and we see it now.
But do we not see some positive kind of response to that? You know, like we've seen in this country, for example, we've seen multiple parties kind of become, at least in the polls, quite popular. There's a very lively debate amongst young people. There are a lot of people who are just choosing not to vote with the legacy parties, maybe not watch legacy media and so on. Is there not some hope there? Well, am I grasping at straws
You
here?
are grasping at straws.
Save us. What about
Especially
UVA students?
Because we saw the Labour Party become like the rest. It's all sound the same to us, and we are yet to see it. And we yet to see it coming to the for the people.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say they feel betrayed.
We haven't yet to see a party that do things for the people, not for voters.
They did flatter to deceive in a way, because they said we're going to make change, and I think one of the big messages that Keir Starmer specifically puts forward is that we are a party of quietly doing the work behind the scenes without much hype. I can't see that really. It's really disappointing. They are tracking reform on immigration, but even on other problems. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be very gloomy, but
Absolutely. And for those viewers who are watching this purely as football fans, flattered to deceive is a metaphor, which means look very good and doesn't
football.
quite deliver.
Yes,
On that note, maybe
perfect.
we'll have a short break and we will rejoin you very shortly.
Postdoc Visas is an independent, accredited law firm based in the Cambridgeshire area and led by Graham Ross. Graham has over 25 years' experience providing specialist immigration advice to academics and postdoctoral researchers all over the UK. What sets postdoc visas apart from other law firms is that Graham understands firsthand the unique challenges that you encounter while working within the UK higher education and research sector, and how those interconnect with the UK's immigration system. Postdoc visas can successfully guide you to the most suitable visa route, taking advantage of many of the unique and advantageous rules that exist for academics and research appointments within the UK immigration system. So if you have any questions about UK immigration, please visit postdocvisas.co.uk. Back to the video. Back from the break. In the first half, we talked a lot about the problems. We talked about the division. We talked about the erosion of trust and public good. But we don't want to be all gloomy and negative Nellies. So I would ask Elham this question. Amid all that division, all that mistrust, all these problems in society, where are the areas that you see hope? As someone who works with young people on a daily basis, as someone who knows how the society functions and how the governments, local governments specifically, help people in the society.
And as a graduate of UEA.
As a graduate of UEA, can you please outline some hopeful bits for, not just for Britain, but overall for the world? What is there that will ultimately save the world? Too big a question, maybe.
What might be tiny baby steps towards it?
Yeah.
That you could see.
I think we have to remember always. We have to go back to remember that we are human first. This is what we need now.
Yeah.
We are human first. British second, or whatever nationality is second. I think at this time we need to remember this. We need compassion to others. We need to think about others. And because, but I think I am positive in the way the new generation the young people are amazing. They don't have this, they are so pure. I see them that they don't want any war, any aggressive behaviors, they are the hope really of the society. And
so what's driving that? What's driving this more kind of pacifist youth?
I think we raised them. I think our generation we raised loving children.
That's us, folks.
I think,
Or maybe,
all of us.
Or maybe they're looking at us and saying, let's not be like them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think they just watch the media. And the positive thing about having media, there is the negative and positive. The positive now that everything is there. They see what's happening out there. All the truth is coming out now, especially, despite all the negative that's happening. But we see the truth of how we got here. That's positive. And I think the young generation will take it from here because they don't want to go back to where we are now.
So is that actually then not an advert for, but in some ways, are you unusually kind of praising social media and access to?
Absolutely, it's it's social media. It's what is show us what's happening today in Gaza.
It's a reflection,
in Gaza, what happened, where this coming from.
Right.
What is why these governments are doing that, and it's absolutely amazing. Despite the negative part of it, because you go with the algorithm, you get what you put in and what you like. So it's definitely because you have to reflect and go back to your logical mind of what is right, what's wrong, what's the truth. So we have to go back to ourselves and is this true? Should I believe this?
So it's enlightening and maybe educational and even emancipatory.
Absolutely.
You know what? Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Well, partly by being a parent, and Ra and I, we have children of the same age. Yeah. What I think when I look at them, they have the tools that we don't have. They don't have the experience that we have. They think they are better than us because they know the tools. And when I say the tools, for example, just to give you an example, anybody who is regularly on X or what used to be Twitter, the barrage of information or misinformation is so big there, so enormous, that at some point, if you are our generation or older, you will probably just be fooled completely because anyone can write anything there. But you know what X has built in it? In a way, this is not praise of X, but there's X has an AI called Grok, Grok. And most of these very controversial claims or controversial tweets, when someone comes out and says, you know what, it takes 100 years to do something, or you know what, an immigrant eats like this much money from the taxpayer. And the responses, the comments you see, Grok, is this true? Grok, is this true? Grok, is this image AI generated? So when I say tools, I mean that. Social media overall, I mean, we did criticize Google's and Facebook's of this world in our previous, in the first half. But social media, I think overall has made the world better. Yes, they have betrayed. Google's motto was do no harm, do no evil. Was it do no evil, something like that? But I don't think they're following through on that. But but at least they're giving the tools to the young generation.
Yeah,
right?
of a kind.
I agree totally.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not worried about who is designing those tools and who they are designed for? I mean, we used to say in the theory, when we used to, discuss theory in class, theory is always designed by someone for something. Is it not the same with these tools? Are they not ultimately just designed to benefit their creators?
Well, it's we are all seeking knowledge, and we're talking about AI.
I guess both. I mean, AI...
Technology in general.
Technology
yeah,
in general, AI is a big part of it.
Yeah, and since the internet started, there is positive and negative. We've seen. We just have to take it as a whole, and try and, because it will be the benefit, I think, override the negative in this case.
I agree too. Yeah,
and humanity will benefit from it greatly, but we just need to be cautious and when using it, and I think the fake one will be obvious. We'll know how to see it, how to point it out.
Just that I've had long conversations about this.
yeah, absolutely. Overall, I think, again, it takes some historic distance to judge something. We are in the middle of it. We, in the past, 10 plus years, we've been through from crisis to crisis, but even the previous decade, the decade between, say, 2005 and 15 or 2006 and 16, that decade was probably the most formative for this world. So we need some distance, but overall, I think, I'm talking about technology. Yeah. Overall, I think this has been a good thing. Could you imagine, even in 2006, I couldn't, 20 years ago, I couldn't imagine that there would be a time so soon that each of us would have high-speed, almost instantaneous access to any information that is available to all of humanity, no matter where you are. That is a big thing. We always talk about internet or AI. These days, everyone talks about AI. Yes, AI will be revolutionary, but we always forget one step before AI. We forget how revolutionary internet itself is. And not just internet as an existing web, but the access to it.
Sure.
The mobile phones that we all now have to carry, or we don't have to, but if you don't want to, be out, if you want to live in the woods, that's okay. But if you want to be in the world, you have to have a mobile phone.
And from mobile phone to smartphone.
Smartphone. Well. I mean, this is what I mean now. Yes. And ultimately, overall, it's been and the young generation actually know the tools better than us, and they know how to process that information better than us. Part of our anxiety, of our generation's anxiety, comes from that barrage of information. We just don't know how to deal with it. We really don't. But they do.
Elham, on that note, are you feeling hopeful?
Absolutely. AI, yes, I will. Early retirement for me, hopefully.
Brilliant.
Early retirement. So,
on that note,
I'm hopeful.
Good. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing conversation.
Thank you so
much. We will hopefully persuade more people to like and subscribe, and look forward to welcoming you back again one day, I hope.
Yes. Thank you, Elham. It's been a good conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And to all our listeners, thank you if you've watched to this point. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube, please do so. Please continue to support us, and we will bring more and more interesting conversationalists, more and more interesting guests to the podcast. Thank you and see you in the next one. This podcast has been produced with support from the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at the University of East Anglia, UEA. The hosts are grateful to the UEA media production team. Technical assistance has been kindly provided by the technicians at the UEA Media Suite, who have also engineered and edited this episode. The views expressed in this podcast belong solely to those who express them and do not represent the views of the university or its affiliates.